Tell you what, it won't be hard, will it, Tobe, to be honest? Just out of desperation, really. Not gonna lie. I can't hear anyone talking on the lake but Frankie, and he's right over there. Hi, I'm James Dent, and we are here today at Hallcroft Fishery for the next instalment of the live match. For you that don't know, Hallcroft holds one of the most prestigious winter leagues there is around the country, with a super strong field. It's always something great to get your teeth stuck into. Myself, with my Catchmore Media team, Matt Godfrey, Andy Geldart, Tom Scully, looking to retain the title for the 6th year in a row, so it'll be fantastic to see where we get today and whether I can do the business for the team. Normally he just stands there and doesn't do out, but because he's on film and he's actually
looking busy.
Right.
Did he still be in the calf, would he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Only because you try and do it. No, you've done it wrong. I'm going to work. That's only you have to do that.
Never.
The ground, mate. Good luck. See you all later.
The draw's done. Peg 26, bridge outer. That's the destination for today. Team wise, we look like we've got quite a good draw, so hopefully this peg will do me proud and we'll have a good go. So for you that don't know, 26 on the outer of bridge. It's shallower up at that end and we're coming down into the bowl here where I am. So there's generally a few bigger skimmers and bream out down here, which I'm really looking forward to getting my teeth into. Tactics wise for today, I'm going to fish 2 long pole lines, left and right, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. They're both exactly the same depth, which is perfect for me because I only need one rig. And one of them's going to be with pellets for odd better fish, not many bites, but odd better fish. The other one being ground bait, maggots, joker, to catch a bit of everything and keep something going in my net. Third line today is a short line, which can be a banker in the last couple of hours of the match. I'm going to feed that with 4 or 5 balls of ground bait with some casters and joker, and that is just at the bottom of this near ledge, not right into the full depth, but coming up maybe 6 inches to a foot out of full depth, and that hopefully I'll catch some bigger fish later on there. But the starting gambit is going to be the feeder. I like to feed my pole lines and let everything settle, let all the fish come in, so then we can cause havoc. One of the key things today, ground bait. Hoping for them fish to come in and settle over it. Mixes, mainline match F1 dark, mixed quite damp so it sinks to the bottom. It's quite inert. I mixed it early this morning. Actually Matthew did, I'm telling a lie. So yeah, I just it on its own because sometimes I put a bit of expander with it, but quite chilly overnight tonight, so I just want to use F1 dark on its own. So that's me today. Joker, one of my favourite baits in winter. Just brings so many fish into your peg. Not something that everyone does a lot of, but I do quite a bit with it international wise, and all winter obviously fishing here on the teams of 4, bloodworm and jokers allow, so it's a great bait. Bloodworm for the hook in this tub. Something that I don't do every time I sit down on Hallcroft teams 4 is pellets, but today in this lake it's a very good bait for today. So a few micros, some formal expanders for one of the lines, and then just some hook bait, casters, maggots and pinkies, which is just a selection of hook baits and a few in the ground bait at the start, a few loose offerings. Well, that's about it. Bait really nice and simple. So initial bait, obviously it's not the all in yet, but we're 5 minutes before the start. I'm just going to run you through exactly what I put into my initial ground bait feed, because I think at Hallcroft it is quite important to get it right at the start, because topping up is difficult, so you want to lay your bed and lie in it, as I say. So initially I put in this ground bait here is 6 200ml potfuls, and I put about a 50 to 75ml casters. Them in there like that, and I put about a 50 to 75ml blobber joker in there like that, and then mix that in nice and separate that joker through with your fingers. Get that mixed in nice and thoroughly. Ground bait's nice and damp, so that it sinks, but it has dried out a little bit since I mixed it this morning. So once I've mixed my bait through it, I'm just going to dampen it off slightly. So as you can see there, the joker's spread right throughout it. There's a few casters and a few other loose offerings for the fish to graze over. So that for me is just a bit too dry. So I'm just going to get a bit of my blood water out of my bloodworm and just wet that up a tiny bit more. You can see instantly it just dampens down. But the mix is nice and fine, so even when we just add in the water by hand, no need to atomise it, just mix it in. So that I can now feed in a loose sandcastle or squeezed up in a ball, whatever I fancy. So that's my initial. I'm going to feed one big one-hander on my long pole line, some pellets on my long pole line, and then the rest of it all short. A couple of the balls squeezed nice and hard so that it lasts a bit longer, and the rest of it just nice and loose, sandcastled in so that it spreads out and attracts them fish early. Mr. Duck's back.
That's because I've got my lens cap in.
What else you been dropping in now?
I've just handed it back.
I've already got a wet sleeve, folks, so I've dug his phone out. What's he like? That's me all ready for the start. We've got about 3 minutes before all in. Fingers crossed for a good day. Here we go, we're in. Just empty that feeder out. Just a few pellets and a tiny bit of ground bait to kick the pellet line off. And just with one hander for my ground bait line. Put my hard balls in last. Sandcastles, just nip them down slightly. One key thing about the sandcastling is I always pot it in slightly back. Just because I think you get that spread and I don't want it to go too much past the end of my pole tip. See if there's any fish out on the feeder. So a 4 pound drag main line down to a little braided link, slimline exchange, small one, and then I've a little boom on with a four turn water knot down to a 18 F1 maggot and 010. Little blobber joker and a few casters in there. Little indication then, first chuck. I think it was a liner. Starting off on this feeder, but I don't really expect to catch a lot for the first hour. If we catch 2 or 3 skimmers, I'll be more than happy with that. I think catching a few later on the pole will be the way down here. We're into our first one. Feels like a skimmer. Bite earlier than I thought, to be honest. Sucker for the old caster. Few more casters in. Packing it in quite hard because I don't want loads to come out initially when it hits the water. We're set, we're back in. Nice start to get one in the bag within the first 15 minutes. Not seen many other fish caught yet. I do find it super important though to let them pole lines settle. I've seen so many times where I've gone in on them early and not had a run of fish. Yeah, you might catch a few straight away, but you never get them numbers that you want. Did you get it, Toby? You're never going to miss that bite. Did you see it?
No. Good bite that. You don't even put your lines yet.
So I've got 10-foot Aventus Steve Ringer, 4,000 reel with actually 4 pound drag on. Quite fine line, obviously it's only 020, but it's a nice line in winter. Don't want something too thick, it sinks well, and last stages, so that's the key for me. But business end, the 1/2 ounce tip, which is super fine, and as you saw, it gets yanked round every now and again. Rig wise is just like a running paternoster with a boom, and hook length is 010 supernatural and 18 F1 maggot. Started on a slimline exchange for the first few chucks. Get a little bit of bait in the peg, and then I'm going to drop down to an even smaller feeder because I don't want to overdo it. I know what these fish like at Hallcroft. A few little fish pimpling short. I'm not going to throw some casters in just yet. I'm going to let them little fish disappear, and then I'll start throwing a few casters in maybe after an hour. I didn't really expect to get a bite so early on. Yeah, it wouldn't have had him, was it? It's there's been an odd one caught around the lake, which maybe it's going to be a good day for it. While I'm fishing this feeder, I'm just going to keep potting in a few micros with my pot. You can actually feed while fishing the feeder here, so that's one of the rules. Obviously, generally you're not allowed to fish with or use two rods at once, but here you can fish with one and then feed with another one. So every now and again, I'm going to ship out and tap a few pellets in on my pellet line. You have another chuck in, a few indications then. I'm just going to pop that smaller feeder on and see whether I can get another couple of bites in this first hour or two. I've been fishing like 45 minutes now. I don't expect to catch a lot in the first little bit, to be honest. I don't. We used to in years gone by, but I feel like the menu's changed quite a bit, and now we sort of just go and fish our pegs. Really, we all use the same ground bait and bait and stuff like that, but we just go and fish our pegs. Because I feel like you need to change what you do in some different areas, so we just adapt and change tactics wherever we draw, really. I don't think we'll get loads of bites here in this little bit, but I think what we do get will be better. I think it is actually a little one. Sod's law, isn't it? Actually changed to 3 pinkies then, just to see if I could get a bite. Obviously it did result in a bite, so we'll have another go. As the day goes on, you'll start to see more and more fish come out on the pole. There's already an odd one being caught on the pole, which does surprise me, but we're nearly an hour in, so I'd like to see an odd fish start coming out on the pole now. Into another one on the feeder. 3 pinkies have got me another bite. Feels like not a bad fish. See there, he's had them in the old scissors. I think you'll need 20 odd pound to do. Obviously, with it being a team match, all about section points and do more for the team. I think you'll need 20 pound to do well for the team. I think tricky them first few pegs up there, but the bit through the middle, there's a good chance of them catching 20 pounds, so you need to aim for around that, really. If you can catch £4 an hour, you're there or thereabouts, really. But I think it'll be slow, then hopefully a good spell, and then it'll probably back off again. I'm going to ship a few more pellets out. I've always found with that pellet line that just a little bit and often is the best way to kick it off. Rather than putting, like, say, half a pot full in and leaving it, just like 100 at a time, and just keep tapping a few in, keep trying to draw them in. But it's sod's law, when you ship out with the old cupping kit, you get a bite and you miss it. I've been in that situation before as well. I think we scored 10 or 11 on the first round, but actually there's a youth team, they actually scored 6 or 7, I think, and beat us. Fair play to the young lads. But the only thing is, we've got it in for them now and we're coming. A good question. It opened my eyes a lot to what actually goes on, but I think quite a lot of what happens is sort of what you thought happened. But there's definitely some things like how, I think it's more about how the stuff that we put in works, like your feeder rig, your hybrid, your pole rig, whatever. I think it's more like how that works that I'm more surprised about, rather than the actual fish coming in and feeding. Because obviously we all catch fish and they must come in and feed. But it is good to see the footage under the water, to be honest. It's just something that I've always done here. I've always let it settle, let the fish come in. Some people do like just fishing the pole and they don't want to do anything else, but I don't. I personally don't think that you catch, or it's more consistent when you leave it and you can go in and a few fish have gathered. Whereas if you just go straight in on it and you catch the first 2 or 3 that come in, nothing else really comes in after that. And I want a few more fish to come in and settle on it. It's just one of them things that I'm actually confident in. But even between our team, like Matt might have stayed on the feeder for this long, but Andy and Tom, they'll probably be fishing the pole now, I would have thought. So it's not like a set team plan. And of course it depends what size fish you're fishing for. Like, from experience on here, the fish that you're going to catch are going to be decent stamps, so you don't need to be in and out all the time. Whereas on some of the other lakes, say for instance Croft or Moat, on the early numbers, you catch a lot more smaller fish. Whereas I can see an advantage of fishing the pole for another hour there, because you're going to put more fish in the net. Whereas here, you're sort of letting a few bigger ones come in, and then you're going to go in and try and catch them. So we're just about an hour and a half into the match now. It's been a slow start as expected. I've had a little ring round the team and everybody's caught a few fish. 3 or 4 skimmers is about what we've got. I've got 3 skimmers personally for maybe about £4 all on the feeder. So it's sort of what I expected really to the start of the match. Conditions are nice. I've been feeding that pellet line and watching what else has been happening on the lake, which I think's an important part of the match early. Just watching, see what happens, see what fish get caught. And always around an hour mark, a lot of people go and have a go on the pole, and they might catch a few fish or a fish straight away, but then it dies, and that's what's happened today. So I'm just going to give it a little bit longer on the feeder, maybe up to the 1 hour and 45 to 2 hour mark, and then I'm going to venture out on the pole and see how we go on from there. But so far, sort of how I expected really. The whole team's caught a few fish, so all good so far. So just over the 1.5 hour mark. Slow as predicted, but still the odd fish out there. Another skimmer, I think. Not the biggest of skimmers for in here, but more than welcome. I'm just happy with putting an odd fish in the net early on. Single caster, a few casters in the feeder, tiny little bit of joker. Just like to mess about with how hard I squeeze it in. Obviously it's taken a while for bites today, so I'm just making sure it's not coming out too fast. I can't hear anyone talking on the lake but Frankie, and he's right over there. He loves the old, "Oh, you're catching better than me" joke, and then wins. He's getting a bit of a name for himself. Tiny nugget of the original mix with a few casters and a few pinkies in. And I'll run you through the rig. 0.5 Guru slim maggot prototype in the natural range. Look at them, they look good, don't they? Nice cane top, slim body. In a 0.5. 013 engage mainline, running down to a nice spread bulk, 9s and 10s, just tapered out 50 centimetres from my loop, 6 inch of 010 supernatural to an 18 F1 maggot. And a 5 slip. It's about just over 6 foot deep, I'm saying here, which half a gram's about right for that. And you can see I'm only just a little bit over depth. Use that pattern on all my lines, and I've got a rounder body float set up if it starts moving or towing a little bit and I need to hang on, but generally at Hallcroft that type of float pattern is the one for me. Hopefully when we ship out 2 hours in, she slots under. First trip out on the pellet line, fingers crossed. Single formal expander on the hook and maybe 25-30 micros in the pot. Let's tap them in and see if there's out there. I've decided to fish 2 13 metre lines, both of them being in the deepest water, and today actually we're in the Bowl on Bridge, which is the deepest part of the lake. I've decided to fish at 13 metres at the bottom of the ledge. The ledge actually finishes about 7 sections out, so I'm well away from the bottom of that ledge. I'm in the main body of water, hoping to catch some of them better fish. It's around 6 to 7 foot deep, so half a gram float in these conditions is more than ample. So yeah, let's hopefully this pellets goes under. I'm not gonna lie, I thought we would have had a bite on that, to be honest. We'll tap a few more pellets in, and then I'm gonna have a look on my ground bait line. Thought we would have definitely had a bite on that pellet though, but the old lake seems to have slowed down a little bit, so keep persevering. So we just went out on the ground bait line and got a bite straight away. Unfortunately it come off, the maggot was doubled over the point of my hook, which I'm not going to lie, I'm quite disappointed with. But at least it's a sign that some fish have come in on that ground bait, or our fish has. Look forward to get any more bites on it. Hopefully we can get this one out, but that's quite good good sign. 2 bites in 2 chucks. Here's a decent one as well. Make sure, folks, you keep your eye out for how many of these I catch throughout the day, because there's going to be a giveaway at the end. Keep your eyes peeled. I'm just coming up to about halfway through the match. Obviously we've been out on pole and we've had a couple of bites on the ground bait line, which is nice. Nothing on pellets as of yet. I'm just going to start throwing a few casters in short, because I feel like them little fish have stopped blimping now, and hopefully a few better fish have come in. so they'll start eating them casters, so just steady away, 8 or 10 at a time, just to keep them interested before I go on it. It's definitely died off. A few fish got caught early on, and now it's backed off. There's about maybe 6 or 8 pegs to my right. There's a guy up there catching half decent. I can only see his pole and his net, so going in and out every now and again, but in general I'll say it's quite slow. Obviously I fed my bait holding my pole here, and I flicked past and I'm fishing with it under my bump bar here. So I'm just on the back edge of my bait, which I think is quite important. Not right over the top of your bait to start with. And then I've even got the option of, I've got another dolly butt that's a little bit longer than this one, so I can fish a little bit further away from my bait as well, which can be quite good for these bigger fish. But initially I think I'm going to give it another couple of minutes on this line. If I don't get a bite, I'm going to swing round and drop back on pellets for 10 minutes and just rest this. See if anything comes back in, and if it doesn't, we'll feed a little nugget again and go again. Just flicked from the ground bait line over to me pellets, and no bite still, which is quite disappointing. The lake has slowed down a bit. So I've just swung back round over to me ground bait line, flicked it out past, trying to nick one on that back edge. It's proving quite difficult at the minute. There's not loads of bites, but I think by being patient and not overfeeding and stuff like that, we can hopefully wangle a couple more out and get a run at some point. There's a little skimmer, single dead red maggot on the hook. There's obviously a few fish about, but not playing ball quite yet. Thought it felt different. The old perch. So I'm thinking after a couple of bites, bit steady, I'm fancying a little top up, to be honest. It's there's obviously an odd fish about. I do think I need something just to spark it in to get it going. Not going to go mad, just a little marble. Plopped in on both lines. Even though I've fed pellets to start with on the other one, I'm just going to feed a few pellets and a little nugget of ground bait, because there seems more fish on the ground bait line. Something sort of this big, little ball, a few casters in, a few bits of joker, and on the other line just a little nugget with a few pellets in, a little bit of ground bait. Time for them 2 little nuggets that I spoke about. Just going to have a little drop short now because I want a couple of minutes to leave them little balls settle. So I'm just going to have 5 minutes short, see if I get any signs of fish or I can read if there's any fish have come in. Few signs short, but no proper bites. Go back out on the long pole line and see if we can put a couple of fish together. We might catch a few short later on. See if them balls have made a difference. Now then, you're right. I caught four on a feeder, and then I've had three or four fish on the pole, but it's quite difficult, to be honest. Does it really?
I've got 3 skimmers in there.
Never.
Yeah.
And what else is happening?
Mark Turner's got 20 pounds on the other side.
Has he?
And new people with like 6 or 7 decent fish.
Right.
Ever so weird.
It's like on.
Catch an odd roach. You know, if a fisherman might get
Yeah.
catch odd roach, like, and some of them are alright.
Right.
I don't know if to do that for the rest of March or try and catch some more skimmers. Like, I've just gone back on feeder.
I know. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Like we halfway through-ish, I've cooked a little nugget in, you know, just to try and see if how it happens.
Yeah.
But nobody's there's about, I don't know what peg it is, it'll be like 17 or 16 or somewhere out there, they're catching a few. Yeah, and juice in a bit. Well, do you know I said he had 3 skimmers early on? He'd only caught a perch since. Yeah. So that's what, and he spoke to Andy, and Andy said that he's got 3 skimmers as well. So we went in on pole after 2.5 hours, and we got a few bites straight away. And it seemed tricky, and the whole lake was fishing quite difficult, but so I fished for a little bit, tried flicking it past left, right, fishing on my bait, just on the back of it, on both lines, and I had a couple of bites, but not pulling any trees up. And one other little thing that I do quite regular is I've got another dolly boat that's about a foot longer than my normal one, and I've just put that on, so I'm like a foot past my bait on a bit of clean bottom, see if there's anything just sat off the back of it, see if there's anything there. There might not be, some days there is, some days there isn't. I feel like it's quite good fishing past your bait when you've got quite a lot of fish in front of you, because you've got an amount of fish on your bait and you can just nick them off the back edge all the time. But even today, obviously you've got to try it on a hard day, try and flick past. Just had a little indication there straight away, so you never know, there might be nodding just past. fingers crossed we can catch a few more coming into this last hour and 15 we've got left. But in general, I spoke to a couple of people and I think it is fishing quite hard today, which is disappointing because I wanted a few more fish for the camera. But that's what you challenge with doing a live match, I suppose. Quite important fish. Took ages to catch him. A single dead red maggot over my pellets then, which just out of desperation really. Not gonna lie. I think it might be time just to swing round now. I've had 5 minutes back out there, not had another indication. I think I'll just swing back round and drop onto that ground bait line, see if I can nick one from there. One thing I do think is important when fishing on your ground bait lines or pellet lines here at Hallcroft is you've got a fish on the back edge of it all the time. I think the fish are coming from out there, so they want to find your hook bait first. So I always flick my rig out past, especially on hard days. Maybe on days where they're feeding a lot, you can drop it straight in over the top of it, or pellets for instance, more, but generally flicking it past is the one at Hallcroft. What it is, don't know whether it's a perch, whether it's another skimmer. Oh no, it's a skimmer. I hope you're keeping track. Tell you what, it won't be hard, will it, Tobe, to be honest? I'm trying. 45 minutes to go, last chance saloon ball I think. One more roll of the dice, topping up with one little ball of ground bait and a few casters on my ground bait line. And a little ball with a few micros in on the other line, just to see if I can make something happen in that last 45. Quick drop short before we go back out long, let them two little nuggets settle for 5 minutes and see if there's any other fish short. Did get a few indications when I dropped in here earlier, so you never know, it might go under. Pattern of the day though been quite difficult. I wouldn't not counting my chickens. Right, so we're coming into the last half an hour now. It's I'm not gonna lie, it's been quite a difficult day, not many bites throughout the day. I've rolled the dice a couple of times with feeding, which I try not to do if I can help it, just like to try and tick over and put an odd fish in the net. So I've given myself a chance doing that. The remaining 30 minutes, I'm just going to fish around my lines. I'm not going to feed again. I'm just going to try and nick an odd fish. From what I can see, there's not a lot of fish getting caught at all. So 2 or 3 pound in this last half an hour could be massive. Could be some good team points. Fingers crossed it goes under. I have just had a couple of indications on one of my lines and missed a bite, so you never know, I might catch a couple later on. Don't know why it's been more difficult than usual, but that's fishing for you. There's been little areas of fish, and areas that have been harder than others, so it's been a tricky day, but all good fun. Conditions have been favourable. I haven't got cold. I don't know about Toby, but he's cold. He's Reside, he said he's cold. Fingers crossed that the team has caught a few fish. I know a few of the lads it was hard earlier on, halfway through the match, so fingers crossed this last half of the match that they've put a few fish in the net and we come back with a good result. A tricky end to what's been a tough day, but all we can hope for is that I've done alright for the team from maybe a tough area, and the team's done well, so let's go and watch the weigh-in and get ourselves back to the results. So the match has ended. We're currently waiting for the weigh-in team to come round to see what I've got, but as promised, a competition. Prizes will be some of today's terminal tackle used in today's session. But did you manage to keep up with the hectic action of all the skimmers here at Hallcroft? I don't think it'll take much doing, but please comment in the YouTube section below with how many skimmers I caught in today's session, and a winner will be picked at random. After what was quite a tough day, I've ended up coming fourth in my section with £10.12, I think it was, which I wasn't too dishappy with in that little area there. Sometimes it can be great, sometimes it can be hard, but today it's been in a tough area and I managed to come fourth in my 9, which maybe isn't the best result, but it's decent for the team, and obviously I love team fishing and that's what I'm here for. Team wise on the day, we have come 5th with 17 points, which is maybe a few more points than we wanted, but that's the old thing of a league. It's not about the hare and the tortoise and all that jazz. So we're still in the race. Hopefully you enjoyed it, folks.